I approached Zagoria from the northern road on my way down to Makovki. I didn't intend to stay in the town, but being low on provisions, I decided to take a look around and scavenge together what I could for the trip. I stopped by the church, an indomitable structure sitting just off the northern road. Approaching the doors, I noticed they were locked. I didn't really expect it, but nothing out of the ordinary really. I elected to try to find some lockpicks and open it up, curious as to what goods were stored inside away from prying eyes. Heading deeper into the town, I checked some of the nearby houses. Locked. 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 It seemed whoever had claimed the church also wanted control of all nearby buildings, yet the windows remained untouched and could easily be vaulted through. A curious decision, and one that began to confuse me even further as I delved even deeper into Zagoria, finding the majority of the houses locked down, some barricaded from the outside world, but most not. Who exactly would have the time, patience and resources to lock down an entire town? I began to notice some odd patterns within the houses. Random rooms, but specific rooms, being completely locked down yet containing nothing of interest. I couldn't help but shake the feeling somebody was watching me. Every house that wasn't locked down had the doors flung wide open, like someone had been chased through each and every structure. Everything useful was gone, save for some paper clips and the occasional piece of food or water. It felt like chasing ghosts, as I wandered through the town and picked the scraps of whoever had come before me. They couldn't have been gone long either. Surely the containers would have respawned their loot if they had left long ago. Aside from the occasional squeal of a boar, the town was coated in deafening silence. Not even a puppet roaming the streets, almost as if they had been cleansed from the area. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling somebody was watching me as I caught the faintest sound of footsteps behind me. These disturbances came and went through my search, almost as if the person who had ransacked the town was now following right behind me, watching me struggle to scavenge together what few scraps they'd left behind. After a while, I'd cleaned out the majority of the town and acquired a fair number of lockpicks. I was sure that this unnerving experience would be worth the reward of whatever was locked behind the doors of that church. I fiddled with the lock over and over again, failing each time to crack the lock until I broke my final lockpick and retreated in defeat. As I stood there in the grass, I pondered what to do next. That's when I saw it. Never had I been more thankful or more worried to see a camera drone. That little hunk of metal had just shown me that somebody was inside the church. I patrolled the front, around the sides, peeking through the windows, but I could not see whoever was hidden within. I typed message after message, ensuring him I only wanted to ask him about the locks. I didn't really care for the loot anymore. I wanted to know what would possess somebody to spend so much time and resources to lock an entire town. I had all but given up when this happened. Finally, a response. Maybe I could get him to open up the church doors and I could ask him about the locks. I was very prepared for the doors to swing open and be met with a face full of lead, but curiosity was getting the better of me. this man, Devil, wasn't inside the church. He was at the southern border of the village, desperately picking at the scraps I had left behind. Ironic, in a way, I thought as I continued to roam the village, looking for lockpicks whilst trying to keep an eye out for this lone stranger. I wasn't fully convinced of his innocence, nor of his statement that he was unarmed, yet, even though he had told me not 5 minutes ago almost exactly where he was, I only saw open doors and empty containers in his wake. Only about 20 minutes had passed, but Devil was nowhere to be seen, and I couldn't reach him through messages. I hadn't heard a gunshot, so I didn't think he'd been killed. I hoped I'd see him again at some point, just to know I wasn't alone in this maze of houses, but I never did. The sun was slowly beginning to rise as I started to give up. I had expended over 50 lockpicks through the night on that door, the door which refused to give in to my constant attempts to breach the sanctitude of the church. Quite prophetic in a way, that the house of God is the only place that wouldn't accept me through its threshold. I grabbed together some last bits and pieces and prepared to continue my long journey down to Makovki, when I stumbled across a particular bush that for some reason took my interest. I always did wonder how exactly you searched a bush, but I guess now I know. All of this time, the loot I had so desperately looked for when I had arrived had been hidden right under my nose, out in the open. I now understood why the town was under such heavy lockdown. It was all a ruse, smoke and mirrors to hide the bountiful harvest in plain sight to all. Opening the boxes, I found exactly what I needed. Not food or water, no, but enough firepower and gear to supply a small army. I now understood the man in the church and why he wouldn't respond. He knew if he forced me to struggle to break into the church, there would be less chance of me finding the precious cargo he had so brilliantly hidden in plain sight. I took what I needed and continued my path to Makovki. As I walked the road south, I thought not of the locks, nor the church, not even the numerous men that gear must have been collected for. I was just happy that my endless curiosity, which had so often proved to be my downfall in this game, this time had paid out greatly.